All right, I think that we are live. So I am going to share my screen. And then, sir, you had asked me a question and I wanted to answer it before we get into um, any of the questions. So, what was your question that you asked me?
If you can show me a structured way to study.
Yes, a structured way to study because I know so many people do, it's just kind of overwhelming, right? It's just kind of sort of overwhelming. Now, first, I need to make sure everybody online can see my iPad as well because it's not working. Hold on, stop share. We are going to do it. And hopefully, anybody if that is watching on YouTube, just give me a second. Stupid computer. Let's try this again. Boom. And maybe that'll work now. I'm trying to get it to work on,
There you go.
like, no, you can see it, but can people on Zoom see it? Okay, there they go. Yeah, they're a little bit of a delay there, but that's okay. So you're asking, how should you schedule study? How should you study? There is
Yes.
a lot of information. Like, I'm not even going to lie, it is a ton. So when it comes to how should I study to do this and pass, I think I've got two different types of students here, right? So one type of student, and I'm going to use this new whiteboard that this program has. Let's try this. So one way to study, well, I would say there's students that are in class, like you are currently in class, and then I've got students who are have already passed class. And what I mean by that is you've passed your class and now you're waiting to take your state exam, right? Because there are two different things you got going on here. If you are still in the class, you've heard me say you've got to review and you've got to learn new. Right? So that means as you are studying and you're learning new information, you are going to put a ton of time in because you can't just not uh, you can't just ignore the stuff you learned a couple weeks ago. You've got to learn new and then you've got to make sure you're getting it. So for somebody who's already in class, like somebody who's in class right now, like you, I would say look at your time. And then I would say if we had it in thirds, one third would be review, and two-thirds is going to be learn new. Right? However, when you're learning new, you also within there need to do practice exams or practice questions. And some of those practice questions should be review. Does that make sense? So, like, if I was telling somebody who was in class, hey, how would I schedule this? Let's say you're studying 2 hours a day, like just making that up. Like, you're studying 2 hours a day. I would say for the first, I don't know, 30 to 45 minutes, you need to review what your teacher has already taught you. And you've got to make sure that you're not forgetting the other stuff. So, I'm a big fan of AI. If it was me and studying today, like how I'm going to prepare for my Michigan exam, is I'm going to go through and I'm going to tell AI, make me 50 questions. Okay, maybe 50 is a little bit a lot for you all. I would say maybe make me 25 questions for that 30, 45 minutes on a specific topic or topics. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that you are getting that review that you're looking for. Then what you could do is say, all right, now that I've reviewed, you can do whatever you need to do to learn new. Is it going to be that you are reading? Are you watching videos? Things like that. And then once you get more towards the end of class and you're preparing for your class exam, that's going to be all review. Now, as my student, I'm going to give you practice exams. So you're going to take
Mhm.
those. But again, AI is amazing for coming up with questions. And you can tell AI, put them in the order, put each section, organize it by topic. So you no longer have to try to figure out, what do I know? What do I don't know? What does this question have to do with? You can literally tell AI what you need. And then the overall concept here is you've got to know what you don't know, right? You're going to look at it, and let's say you have questions on contracts, and you have questions on finance, and you have questions on estates. You want to make sure that anytime AI is giving you questions, you are getting at least like an 80% on those questions, at least. And what I would do is track it. Now, I'm going to say that, but I'm also going to come over here to you've already passed the class. If you have already passed the class, then you're going to jump all the way down here, and everything you're doing is review. So I would say, first thing is, how much time do you have? You're going to need to know, what are my time restraints? If you are getting ready to take a test and you've already passed your class and you've got 2 weeks, how you break up that 2 weeks is going to be different than those people who come to me and they're like, I passed 3 months ago and I never took my test. And I need help with that. So that's going to be different. So the time is the question, but then I would track it, and I don't have this pretty because I'm working on it. Nope, that's not in there. It's where I was. It would be, is it here? Nope, that's not it. Nope, that's not it. Why do I have so many things open? What is my damage? Let's close that and then open it back up. There we go. It is going to be, Lord Jesus, have I lost it? No, I can't possibly have lost it. I have a folder. It's not understanding streams. Don't make me have to rewrite it. I might have to rewrite it. I don't think I did it in school stuff. All right, I'll just rewrite it. Unless I really did do it in here. No, I know I wasn't ready for this. I wasn't prepared. Is it here? I don't think so. Nope. All right, so I'll just rewrite it for you. Here's what I would do. I would start tracking. I mean, you're going to need to start tracking stuff anyway, now that you're going into real estate. But over here, I would have a list of the topics, right? So there's going to be something like estates. There's going to be math. There's going to be finance. There's going to be, I don't know, appraisals. And there is a lot of organization here, but what I would say is, oh, see, I know I have it somewhere. I got to figure out where it is. What was it? I think you're going to write your test scores. So I would range this from, like, if you score a 0 to, what was it, 40, or maybe a 0 to 40%. Like, obviously you're not ready. Like a 41 through, I would say, like 60%. And, that's the basic. You might go 60 to, or 61 to 80%. And then you might have, anything higher than 80. And for each of these, I would say you want to have at least 3 attempts. So let's say you've got estates. Obviously, I cannot draw straight, but y'all knew that from the beginning. What I would say is, you're going to take, whether it's a full exam or just one that you have AI come up with, you're going to take that test and you're going to say, hey, maybe I got, 10 correct out of 15. And then what's that percentage? And if you got, between the 0 and 40%, you put it there. And then maybe, it might want to date that. So you might say that was on 128. And then maybe you took another test and you really were studying estates, and you might say on 2-3, you got, 20 out of 25 right. And I mean, that's higher than a 61% or whatever. And then, eventually you're going to say, hey, I got 23 out of 25 right. And what you're trying to do is get at least 3 scores in that topic over 80%. That's going to tell you, when you're breaking it down by topic, it tells you what you need to study, and it also tells you where you are with each topic. Does that make sense? And that's not
Yes.
just for you, that's for anybody listening. There's so much information that once you get something at an 80%, you don't need to keep spending a ton of time on it. At that point, you're just reviewing so you don't lose. And then that means you can move on to something that you're still struggling on, something that maybe you're still in the 41 to 60%. So depending on where you are and how much time you have. So for you being a current student, once we get to I've taught you everything that, we're supposed to go over in class, you're going to be doing practice exams, and you're going to break it up by topic so you can see which topics, where are you in each topic. And then it tells you what to study, what you're strong on, and lets you know how you should do on the test. Does that help at all?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. That was very helpful. Yeah. Now I have a structure, and I can based on what
Yay.
you told
Oh,
me, I can
and
go from there.
yay. Hi, Caroline. Hi, Marilli. Yay. So hopefully that helps everybody. And, I get it. Again, myself. Oh, Trix, you said, hi, everybody on YouTube. You asked if this is Claude. No, this is my absolute favorite way to take notes, which is called GoodNotes. And it's slowly becoming what I use to teach with, what I take my own personal notes with, what I plan stuff out on. It's on my computer, it's on my iPad, it's on my cell phone. So yes, you do have to pay money for it, but this thing has been amazing. So if you all were saying, hey, Candace, what do I use to study? I am literally, and you all saw it, I am literally using this to study. So, like, how do I take notes when I'm telling you all to do this stuff? Um, in Michigan, the seller pays for the buyer's title insurance, and that's different. So I made a list, I made a page on this, and then I took some notes. And now, if I have a question, I can go back to my notes. I must have duplicated that page. So if I wanted to know about fractional ownership or something like that, like I liked this definition of undivided interest. The other thing I like about this is there's AI. So I can come in and I can search my notes. I can put into AI, search this note for undivided interest, and it'll take me to where I made those notes. So it is not Claude, although I do love Claude. This is GoodNotes. And I see, Tricks, that you've been doing the PSI practice test. Tell your AI that. You can tell AI, hey, I'm getting ready to test. Please make me questions similar to the PSI test. Now, that's not North Carolina. North Carolina would be Pearson VUE. And for my Cali people, you especially want to say, design me a test that's similar to California, because California and New York, I think there's one other state, makes their own test. They don't use the Pearson VUE or the PSI. So hopefully that's helping everybody. And it's just helping to it just helps to get organized. Right. And if you've heard me talk about in class, take notes when you do these questions and you're reviewing, take those notes. You can also use your notes to review. So sometimes when I've only got like 15 minutes, I'll start at the beginning of this thing I've made from Michigan, lots of notes. See, boo, 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 where's the top? And I'll start going through and just trying to test myself. So I'll say, okay, Candace, and I'll cover it with my hand. What is Public Act 299 of 1980? And could I come up with that it's the Michigan Occupational Code? And do I know everything that's on this page? I can use my notes as a review, so I'm not just always doing practice questions. And the other thing you can do is sketchnoting. You all know I love a good sketch note. That's not it. But sketchnoting your ideas, which would be one of these says sketchnote. I know it does. Oh, here. Like, this is me drawing out the foreclosure process. So if you're looking at this, what we're saying is, yes, I want you to be able to talk it, but a seller starts with title. Give it a new boom. A seller starts with title in a deed of trust state. They give title to a buyer, and then the buyer gives title to the bank or the trustee. Like I'm drawing it out instead of just trying to write words there. So there you go. Martha said, you've also been using Prep Agent and taking what he says and then tell ChatGPT, can you turn this into the simplest terms and the real life examples? Yep. That is a great idea. You can have it do that. I think it's a great way to test. And hello, Jasmine. All right. I hope that helped everybody. That was a great question, sir. And now let's get to some questions. And where is it? Where are my questions? Here they are. These are the Claude. Speaking of AI, these were the questions I had Claude come up with. I gave it a prompt. And, if anybody wants those prompts, you can email me and I'll give it to you. Or maybe I'll do a working session with somebody and I'll show you how to do AI online, how I do it. I wouldn't mind doing a video on that if you all think it would helpful. Marilla, I didn't see your email, but I have not checked email today and only once yesterday morning because I was teaching all day. So, and then I spent time with my mother, bless my heart. So if you sent it this weekend, I probably haven't seen it. But if you don't hear back from me tomorrow, email me again. All right. So there we go. Let's move on. And we're here with our questions. And we are at question 17. And Caroline, you failed me. You forgot to remind me to get some water. Oh, Lord, I'm just going to be thirsty. Which deed provides the greatest protection to the grantee? Notice it says here, grantee, not grantor, but grantee. Oh, Caroline, you don't have to be sorry. I tease. All right. Which deed provides the greatest protection to the grantee? So we know the grantee is going to be the new owner. I can spell own. Owner. Is it the quitclaim deed, the bargain and sale deed, the special warranty deed, or the general warranty deed? Who knows? All right, we got D's, D's, D's. We got lots of D's coming in here. McDill, you said D. All right, let's see. What do we have going on in my YouTube page? What do you all on YouTube think it is? Do, 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 do. Do 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 do. All right, all of them came in at a time. Anita, Martha, and I know that picture. You all said D. Who is that? Who's the blonde in the sunglasses? I know that picture, but I can't remember your name because I'm all over the place. But yes, everybody is absolutely right. It is D, general warranty deed. It is a general warranty deed because it comes with all of those promises. And it doesn't matter who messed up the title, that seller is promising to fix it. Now, special warranty deed would say, look, I promise I didn't mess it up, but somebody before me messed it up. Don't call me. Call Ghostbusters. Not my problem. So we want to make sure we understand the difference. Oh, that's right, Stacy. That I knew it. All right. That's what there's a difference is there. All right, number 18. Oh, math. Lord, everybody do a little prayer for Candace. Let's see if we can math correctly today. Annual property taxes are $4,800. The seller has paid taxes for the entire year. If closing occurs on September 15th and the buyer is responsible for the day of closing, what is the seller's credit at closing using a 360-day year? Now, for my people in California, even if you don't have math on the test, they could ask you, what would this look like? Would it be a credit? Would it be a debit to the buyer, to the seller? So you want to understand the concept. But whenever we have these proration problems, which means we're splitting up a cost, it's easier to draw it out. So we have a timeline here. And I know different states have taxes due on different days, but generally property taxes are due based on a year. So this could be the year 2026. This is January 1st. This is December 30th. Why December 30th? Because it said a 360-day year. On your exam, if you're doing math, it might say use a 360-day year, which means you're going to assume every month has 30 days and the year has 360 days. versus the 365 calendar, and this is also called a banking calendar or statutory calendar. That's, you have to have the actual days. So, January has 31, February has 28. Can y'all believe it's already February? March has 31, just all those things. So there's going to be a tax bill due for $4,800. And this seller paid it in advance. His seller paid for the entire year. But if closing is September 15th, this seller literally paid for a whole year, but it turns out they only lived in the house up until here. Because that the seller owns the house here and the buyer owns the house there in the second half of this year. If I were the seller, I would be like, nah, somebody needs to reimburse me my money. So what am I going to do? I'm going to find a daily amount of my tax amount and then charge it for this amount of days. This buyer needs to give money to the seller, which means that's going to be a buyer debit of whatever that amount is, and it'll be a seller credit for whatever that amount is. So let's math it, people. I'm going to take $4,800. I'm going to divide by 360 because it says the 360-day year, and 4,800 divided by 360 equals 13.33. And who was it? Trix got that right. Nice job, Trix. 13.33 a day. Now, if at any point somebody's watching and I lose you, let me know. So it's $13.33 a day. And it says the buyer is responsible for the day of closing. So that means the buyer is responsible for 9:15 to 9:30, plus all of October, which is going to be 30 days, all of November, which is going to be 30 days, and all of December, which is 30 days. This is 90 days. So what we need to know is how many days it is from including the 15th through the 30th. So we're starting on the 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and that's going to be 16 days if I just did my math right, is it not? 16 days. Let me use my fingers because there's nothing wrong with changing your fingers. So 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. That was 16 days. Notice I had to include the 15th. So 16 plus 90, what is that, 106? 106 days at $13.33 a day gives me I got 114.12.98. Right? And I'm going to assume it's this. Now, I've noticed just from this problem that all of these are even. I didn't ask AI to round it, but it looks like it did. Who knows? And now I need to remind myself, hey, if I'm using Claude, because this is something GPT did not do, is tell Claude, round to the nearest dollar. Don't round up. So this answer would be a seller's credit for $1,400. Now, I see some of you all got 3,400. Anita, you got 3,400. So let me know where you're getting that number from. Let me know where you're getting that number from if you don't understand why we did it this way. If you've now watched me do this problem and you get it, that's fine. Oh, Caroline says she got 1412.82. Hey, right? So Anita, again, if you're not sure where you messed up, please let me know so we can fix it. Or if you want me to walk through what you did or why you did what you did, why it's not correct, just let me know. But if you got this math question right, congratulations, because there's going to be a proration on the test, right? Okay, you understand now? Good. Yay. All right, let's do number 19. Which of the following would terminate an easement? Okay. Which of the following would terminate an easement? A, death of the servient estate owner. B, a merger of the dominant and servient estates. C, sale of the dominant estate. And D, recording of the easement. So for number 19, what you got? Now, I'm looking at this and I see that Trix, you're saying A, Caroline, you're saying A. And I got to think about this because remember, guys, I'm not looking at the answers. This is my first time seeing these questions too. It's not recording of the easement because recording of the easement gives you the protection. We record so that nobody can say, oh, this is mine. Sale of the dominant estate. Well, in all of these words right here, we've got the word dominant, dominant, and servient, and servient. And this reminds me, we got two types of easements. We have appurtenant easements, which they say it's supposed to be appurtenant, but that's just, I don't like it. I like appurtenant. Sure, appurtenant might be right, but I'm bringing in something new. If we can go with irregardless, it can be appurtenant. And we've got our easements in gross, which are going to have either commercial or personal. Now, I'm saying this because an appurtenant easement always must have at least two properties. And an easement in gross just is one property. It's just the servient tenement being crossed. The servant tenement being crossed or used. So like if you have, train tracks or you have, somebody, the government has the right to cross your land to get to utilities or something. There's only one interest, the property being used, where the appurtenant has the dominant and the servient. So let's look at it in either way. If there's a sale of the dominant estate, well, if there's a dominant estate, we got to be here in an appurtenant easement. And the thing is, the whole point is that it's appurtenant. It goes with both properties, really. So the new owner of the dominant estate would still have to honor this easement. So that's going to be a big fat no. That's not our answer. Merger of the dominant and servient estates. So if you have two properties, and this is the road, if you join these two, like let's say this is your easement, if you join these together, now you just got one big property and you don't need an easement to cross itself. So I do like B. And then A says death of the servient estate owner. Well, it's not about the servient estate owner. If this is one big property, right? And there is an easement. Maybe it's an easement for utilities. Maybe it's an easement for somebody to fish or hunt. If it's a personal easement, this ends when the dominant, I'm gonna call it the dominant, when the person dies, the person who's granted the easement dies, then it's over. But if the person who owns the land dies, it's not over. Just like in this case, if it's a personal easement, if somebody sells this property to somebody else, the new owner must honor that easement in a personal easement. So no, the death of the servient estate owner is not going to terminate it. And that would be true in an appurtenant easement as well. One property has the right to cross another property, so nobody cares if they're dead. Okay, well, that sounds kind of rude. But yes, our answer is B. Boom. Also, you like my artwork. Question 20. Under CERCLA, liability for environmental contamination. Under CERCLA, liability for environmental contamination, is it A, only applies to the current property owner? B, can be imposed on previous owners who caused contamination? C, is limited to commercial properties? Or D, requires proof of negligence? This is a great question. This is a good question. All right. So, all right, in my Zoom room, I got some answers of A. Do I like A? Applies only to the current owner. Is that what we're going with in my Zoom room? Because it's 5:30. Yes, you all are saying A. All right. And in my YouTube, anybody have an answer for me? I know there's a little bit of a lag there, but well, let's get rid of some of these. Hopefully we know that CERCLA is all about this idea in the Superfund amendments that if there is contamination on a property, the law says somebody's got to clean it up. Now, the thing about this, and let me pull up my slides for everybody. Where are my slides? Let's see. Do I have my slides? Full slides. These are old, but we'll take them. We will take it. When we look at our slides, let me pull up CERCLA. And somebody that's in my classes, remind me to upload my slides to my iPad, if you don't mind. CERCLA stands for Comprehensive Environmental Response, Compensation, and Liability Act. Oof. And it's all about this idea that if there is contamination, everybody has to clean it up, right? Current owners and operators of a facility. You're using the land, that is contaminated, and you currently, you're either the current owner or you're renting it or something. Even if it's not you that made it dirty, you're responsible for cleaning it up. Past owners and operators of a facility, they're responsible for cleaning it up. If you arranged or you actually transported the stuff that's making this bad, that is making this land bad, you're responsible. At the end of the day, with CERCLA, everybody's responsible, right? And it's joint and several liability. That's right here, meaning you can't be like, well, I only owned it for 1 year, and so I should only have to pay for 1 year's worth of damage. Nope. Everybody's paying for everything. So when we look at that, now we come back to our questions. We can see that it's not just the current property owner. Yes, it can be imposed on previous owners who caused the contamination. It is not limited to commercial properties, and it does not require proof of negligence. You don't have to prove that you were negligent and that is why it's now contaminated. You're paying. So our answer is B. So it's B. Again, yes. And I know I'm always saying it like I'm beating a dead horse, and why did somebody beat a dead horse? Like, who came up with that saying? What kind of dark sicko was beating a dead horse? But still, make sure you understand not just that, hey, this is the right answer, but why are the wrong answers wrong? Right? And online, I see y'all in my YouTube, everybody getting it right. Okay, YouTube people, I see y'all. Right, question 21. A property sold for $285,000. The commission rate is 6% split evenly between the listing and selling brokers. The listing salesperson receives 60% of their broker share. What does this listing salesperson earn? All right. Well, our sales price is $285. Now, if that's our sales price, then I'm going to multiply that by 6% to get the total commission, which is $17,100. That's the total commission. This needs to be split with the seller's agent and the buyer's agent. And notice up here, we actually called it the listing agent, that's the seller's agent, and the selling broker, that would be the buyer's agent. Each of them are getting 50%. So I'm looking for half of 1710. So that would be $85.50. So this broker, or broker in charge if you're in North Carolina, this firm got $85.50, and this firm gets $85.50. Great. We're looking for how much the listing salesperson earns, and they get 60% of their broker share. So I'm going to multiply this by 60%, and this is going to be the salesperson's money amount, and that's going to be $51.30. Now we're going to see if that's an answer choice. Hey, the answer is A. The answer's A. Hey, the answer's A. Do a little dance, do a little dance. All right, A is our answer. I am mathing. Weekend people, if anybody from my weekend classes here are watching this later, why can I do this math now, but in your class, I can't add to save my life? What is wrong with me in your class? 22. The bundle of rights includes all of the following except, oof, going back to an early days of real estate. The bundle of rights includes all of the following except. And when I see the bundle of rights, what I think of is deep sea. Right. So we're looking for the one that's wrong. 3 of these are going to be true and one's going to be false. Is it the right to exclude others, the right to dispose of the property, the right to zone the property, or the right to use the property? All right, coming in strong with some C's. We're coming in strong with some C's in my Zoom room. Let's give my YouTubers. Oh my gosh, we should get enough people where we should have a day where it's Zoom room people against YouTube people. Dun, dun, dun. And then the winning group would have like a private session with me. That would be fun. Mm-hmm. 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 All right. So we know we get the right to exclude others. This is true. So that's not our answer because we're looking for the false. With the bundle of rights, do we get the right to dispose of the property? Yeah, we do. So that's true. That's not the answer. We don't get the right to zone. We don't get the right to zone. That would be our answer because this is false. And then D, the right to use the property, that is going to be a true statement. So C, and everybody got that one right. Nice job, nice job. All right, all right, all right. 23. Oh, McDeal said, let's do it. Uh-oh. Uh-oh, YouTube people. McDeal was like, gauntlet thrown. He wants to know. Oh, Trick said, let's do it. Uh-oh. And Caroline reminded me the answer was C. And if the answer is C, Caroline, what was I supposed to do?
I like carrots, and you should too. It goes crunch, 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 and it's good for you.
We like carrots.
And you should too. It goes
Crunch, crunch, crunch. Very good. Sorry about that. Yes. Trick said, let's do it. All right, y'all. Let's get some more people. Let's have like I was gonna say a decathlon, but that's not what I'm trying to think of, but like a contest. YouTube people versus Zoom people. I love it. All right, number 23. Which type of lease requires the tenant to pay base rent plus some or all of the property expenses, such as taxes, insurance, and maintenance? Which type of lease requires the tenant to pay your base rent plus some or all of the property expenses, such as taxes, insurance, and maintenance? Is it A, gross lease? Is it B, net lease? Is it C, percentage lease? Or is it D, graduated lease? All right. Caroline said B. She said triple net or just a net lease. Yes, I like that. McDeal said B. Yes, Marilli said B. We're waiting for my YouTube people to catch up, but so far we got 3 B's. Bees in the trap. Bees in the trap. Bees in the trap. Bees in the trap. All right, we got a B and we got an A online. I'm bringing home a baby bumblebee. Won't my mama be so proud of me? I see you with the baby bumblebee there, Caroline. All right, we got an A and we got another B. So it looks like the majority of us are going with B. And that's good because B is the answer. What? B is the... Yes. She does know all my songs, McDeal. Don't be jealous. Don't be jelly. So our answer is B. This is a net lease, and we know that a gross lease is the opposite. You know, if you have an apartment or condo or townhome or something that you're renting from the owner, then they are the ones responsible for like the HOA dues and the taxes and the regular maintenance, right? So it's not gross lease, although we know what that means. Our answer is most definitely net lease. We know percentage lease is where you pay the base plus a percentage of the gross money's coming in, the gross profit. And then graduated lease is where, you know, you start at this level. And then next time comes up, some time goes by, you pay another level. And then you're going to pay some more. And then you're going to pay some more. And then you're going to pay some more. Those are graduations, just like you graduate from high school. So yay, our answer is B. Nice job. All right. A buyer obtains a loan for $200,000 at 6% annual interest. What is the monthly interest payment for the first month? Yes, I love these questions. I don't know why. Probably because, guys, like you all, when I first started teaching, I was like, ugh, the finance chapter, it's terrible. And now that I really, truly understand it and realize I was making a bigger deal out of it than I need to, now I like teaching you all, you can do it too. You can do it. Oh my gosh, how's nobody told me to get an audio clip of that guy from the Adam Sandler movie? What is that? The water guy? Whatever the football movie. And he says, you can do it. That's what I need. All right. We're going to take $200,000. That is our loan amount. And we are going to multiply it by 6%. Right? Because that is our rate of annual interest. If you borrowed $200,000 from a bank and you did not pay a single penny back for a year, because that's annual interest. So that year is over. You pay back the amount you loaned, the principal, 200, plus the 6% interest. That 6% interest would be times 6% is $12,000. That's for a year of interest. But when you make your payment, you've only had that money for a month. So if there's 12 months in a year, I'm going to take that $12,000 and I'm going to divide it by 12 because there's 12 months in a year. And 12,000 divided by 12, boys and girls, is $1,000. All right. Now, just because I think it's so important to make sure we know how to do this. Actually, I was going to say, let's figure out what the actual monthly payment is, but never mind. We'll do that another day. I'm sure the problem's in here somewhere. So $1,000 is the answer. Good job. Look at y'all getting that right. 25. When a property is sold subject to an existing mortgage, the buyer assumes personal liability for the loan. B, the original borrower remains personally liable for the loan. C, the lender must approve the sale. Or D, the mortgage is automatically paid off at closing. A property is sold subject to an existing mortgage. So the key words here are subject to. Remember, because I know some of you all haven't had this in my class yet, when a buyer goes to buy a house, you got some options. Number one, they could pay cash. They're going to pay cash and that seller is going to take that money and pay off their current loan. Two, the buyer could get a new loan. They're going to get a new loan, give all that money to the seller so the seller can pay off their loan. And now the buyer is making payments on their loan. Some loans can be assumed. And an assumption is when the buyer takes over the seller's loan. And when the buyer takes over the seller's loan, now the buyer's going to be responsible. And then 4, you can purchase the loan subject to. And that's where you go ahead and make the payments for the seller, the original owner. But at the end of the day, the original owner is still responsible. The buyer said, oh, yeah, I'm going to pay. But if they don't pay, it's the seller, that original borrower, who's going to take the hit. So looking at that, what's our answer? Well, we know it's not the mortgage is automatically paid off at closing. Now we got at least a 33 1/3% chance of guessing this right, because we know this is a multiple guess question test. We got C, the lender must approve the sale. We got B, the original borrower remains personally liable for the loan. And we got A, the buyer assumes personal liability for the loan. Well, we know it's not A because of that assumption. The buyer does not assume responsibility when it's purchased subject to. The seller keeps the responsibility. The original borrower remains personally liable for the loan. Yep, that's our answer. Now, you might be thinking about C. But the thing is, when somebody is subject to, the whole point is that usually the bank is like, look, we don't care who makes the payment as long as the payment is made. We are not trying to be all up in your business. Even though they have language in their promissory note that, oh, you know, if you try to sell this, then you're going to have to pay us back our money. We know that's going to be the due on sale or alienation clause. But the lender doesn't necessarily have to approve it because 9 times out of 10, the loan already has that alienation or due on sale clause, and they're not going to approve it anyway. All right, Caroline, you said changing to B. It's okay. You can change to B. We'll take changes. And I see my people on YouTube racking up these right answers. I don't know, y'all. This could be a good, oh my gosh, that would be really good. I wish there was some way to do a buzzer system where we could get you all on like an even time frame and we could do some buzzer system for this. I don't know. I'll work on it. All right, 26. The rectangular survey system divides land using rectangles. No, the rectangular survey system divides the land using A, monuments and compass bearings, B, lot numbers and plat maps, C, principal meridians and baselines, or D, recorded subdivision maps. Also a good question. All right, Crystal's coming in strong with a C. All right, what else we got? McDeal's coming in with the C. Oh, when the saints come marching in. Where'd that song come from? I don't know. You know what? Let's sing a more fun song.
C is for cookie. That's good enough for me.
Oh, you know what else starts with C?
Castaways. We are castaways.
I'll probably get dinged for that one. So C, you love it. The Castaway song. Pretty sure I'm not supposed to play that one, but that's okay. Yes, our answer is C, our principal meridians and baselines. We know this is our meets and bounds. Couldn't think of the name. This is the lot and block. And you can always do the subdivision maps. Those are kind of like, they're connected. It's recorded items. And then we got this, our government rectangular survey system. We know our baselines are horizontal. And the principal meridians are, what's the opposite of horizontal? I can't think of it right now, but that's okay. And then we know every how many miles you got some other lines. What are these other lines called? Every how many miles do you have these other lines? We know we got the principal meridian and we got the baseline, but what do we call those things that run horizontal? And what is the opposite of horizontal? Alexa, what is the opposite of horizontal?
The opposite of horizontal is vertical.
That's right. Thank you.
Vertical. Oh,
Oh,
I guess
thank
he
you.
said it.
That's okay. He said it vertical. I was like, I can't remember. Thank you, Alexa. So those are vertical. Now, I see you said, MacDeal, that it's 36, but remember, and this is time to go back to our slides.
Was that for me?
No, that was not for you, Alexa. Thank you. You can stop listening.
Okay.
All right, guys, I'm going to find it. Where am I? Okay, why don't I just use the search function like a normal person? To do rectangular. Oh, yeah. Because you would think I know how to use my own computer, but apparently I'm a loser. All right, meets and bounds and blot and block. The government rectangular survey system. Here we go. So remember, this is your baseline. This is your principal meridian. Right? Now, how many miles do we go over? These are called ranges. Okay, you can't tell what that says because I'm so close in. Bloop, 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 bloop. Bloop. These are called ranges when they're vertical, and they're called tiers when they're horizontal. Right? So they go 6 miles by 6 miles. It's every 6 miles. This is 6 miles. This is 6 miles. This is 6 miles, right? It's 6 miles between here and here, 6 miles between here and here, 6 miles between here and there. And we get what's called a township. And what you were thinking about is, oh, thank you, Mariel. Thank you for saying I have good notes. Thank you. And we know that that township, which is 6 miles by 6 miles, has 36 sections that are 1 mile by 1 mile. And we know we take those sections, which has 640 acres, and we quarter it, right? This would be the first quarter, and this would be the second quarter that has, 40 acres, and you quarter. So you weren't necessarily wrong, Meg Deal, so much as you answered the wrong question. If I had asked how many sections in a township, the answer would be 36. And I could have asked the question wrong. This block right here, that township is 6 miles by 6 miles because your ranges and tiers are 6 miles apart. There you go. Yay. What are we doing? Oh, we're doing this. So we're good on 26? I think so. All right, 27. An agency relationship may be terminated by all of the following except what? An agency relationship may be terminated by all of the following except what? Is it A, expiration of the agency agreement, B, death of either party, C, unilateral decision by the principal, or D, increased property value? Expiration of the agency agreement. So we're looking for 3 true and 1 false. Let's make that bigger again. So let's label them. So we're really looking for agency relationship may be terminated by what? So is it true expiration of the agency agreement would terminate the agency, or death of the agent? If the agreement expires, is the agency relationship over? Yes, that is a true statement, so it's not our answer. Whew. Death of either party. Will death of either party terminate an agency agreement? Well, see, my initial thought is, well, if we're talking about real estate and we're talking about the agent, are you talking about the broker, or are you talking about the salesperson dying? Like, as death, which parties? So I'm going to leave that because that could be a yes, but it could be a no, depending on what else we got. Unilateral decision by the principal. You know what? That will terminate an agency agreement. You can't hold a principal, your client, to the fire. You can't be like, and you can never leave. If they want to leave and don't want you representing them anymore, they can go. Now, can you sue them? Absolutely. But you can't force your representation onto anybody unless they're like mentally unstable or something like that. But nope, it's not C. That's a true statement. Increased property value. Well, again, these are AI questions. I think I would go with increased value. I can't think of any time when increased property value would terminate an agency relationship. But if we're looking at agency, like universal, general, and special. What if we're talking about universal agency? If either party dies, so like I'm my father's power of attorney. If he dies, obviously our agency agreement is over. If I die, I can't represent him if I'm dead. So either of our deaths would cause that. So that is a could be true, but I can't think of any answer where increased property value would change the agency agreement. I got nothing. But let's check. And I'm sorry, guys, I'm going to have to spin all the way down here. We're looking for number 27. I'm going to go to our answer choices and see what Claude wanted us to say. Well, this is 200 questions, and it's 181. Really? I don't have an answer key? Oh, I got to look it up. That's right. Sorry, guys. Let me look up our answer key on Claude. I've got to look it up. It's not part of this document. But I think I'm right. I could be wrong. Stranger things have happened. Claude. And Claude said our answer was supposed to be... Oh, let's see. Where is this conversation? It is... Here it is. Here's my answer key. Sorry, I wasn't more together. I need to print out this answer key so we don't keep doing this. And it is number... stop. Number 27 is D. Hey, we got it right. We got it right. Hey, we got it right. Bye, Caroline. Do a little dance, do a little dance, do a little dance, do a little dance. Hey, 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 hey. All right, so the answer is D, but you all could see how I worked through that and why I said what I said. Yep, Anita, D looked like the closest answer to me too. So it is 5:57. It is that time that I usually end. But, Kay, are you still in here? I think you are. Crystal, you're still in here. So was it you that sent me some math questions that you had? If you want, I will go over them now with you and everybody else as a group if they want to see them. Or if you weren't prepared to do math, or if you can't do math right now, that's cool too. But if you want, I will do them now. Oh, you can answer. You can unmute. Let's see. Boop, boop, boop. Yes, please. All right. Let me pull up these questions. So you all won't be able to see the questions per se that she gave me, but I will read them out and I'll put them out. We'll just work them out together. So, well, I opened this, so I guess this is what we're using. Boom. So these are student questions. A student actually gave this to me. It said, could you help me? So let me look at this first one. Pick up the picture. Oh, I don't want to save it to photos. Go away. Says Jack and Jill sold their home to Bill and Mary. The home sold for $255,650, with Bill and Mary putting in $25,000 down and financing the balance. What is the amount of excise tax that the sellers must pay at closing? All right. So this first question, I'm gonna call it question number 1. We have a house that sold for $255,650. Right? That's our sales price. And it says they put down $25,000. We know that is our down payment, and it's our starting equity. Because in order to buy this house, they put down $25,000, and that means I could find a loan amount. I could take the 25,000 away from the $255,650, which I know I should be able to do that in my head, but God gave us calculators for a reason. And that's going to be a loan of $230,650. The question is asking us, what is the amount of excise tax? Now, first, let me say this is a very state-specific question because each state kind of charges different types of transfer taxes. What I'm going to do is answer this for North Carolina, and I'll talk it through. So even if you're not in North Carolina, you can understand the math concepts, which will apply to all sorts of things. But if you, a lot of other states call this transfer tax or revenue stamps, and every state kind of does this differently. So what I'm answering is North Carolina, but everybody should in here that's got math on their exam know how to find transfer tax or revenue stamps for your state. So in North Carolina, go Tar Heels, we know this rate of excise tax is $1 per every 500 of value in the property sold. So if you sold a property, it was a cardboard box, and you sold it for $500, you would own $1 in tax because you transferred it. If you had a cardboard box worth $1,000, you would owe $2 in transfer taxes. So we need to know how many 500s in 230, 650. So I'm going to take this 230, 650 and divide by 500. And 230, oh, what am I doing? Not 230, 650. Don't mind me. We don't want that number. This is the loan. We pay this off of the sales price. I'm glad they caught it. So I'm actually going to go, this is not about the loan. This is about the sales price. And the sales price was actually $255, $650. So $255, $650 divided by 500 means, because it's a $1 per 500, that means our tax bill could possibly be $511.30. But it's not, because in North Carolina, we don't want any change. If you've got any change whatsoever, round up. So our bill is not for $511.30. Our bill is for $512. If there's any type of change at all, we round up. Our bill is for $512. So Miss Crystal, how do you feel about that? Does that make sense? Hopefully. Now I see you got 462. I'm assuming that you did what I did at first, which was the 230, 650, 230, 650 divided by 500. Wait, 230, 650 divided by 500. Yep, the 46. So you got the 462, Crystal, and I think you already know this. You used the loan instead of the sales price, just like I did at first. But let me tell you, it's going to be for everybody. That's going to be an answer. The wrong answer, like doing the math problem wrong, will be an answer. So good job. Let's move on to our next one. And good job. I see all y'all with the right answer in your chats. I see y'all. Don't think I don't. All right, the next one she asked me was, are you asking me how to do number 1 or number 2, this practice for taxes? You know what? We'll do both of them. So this is our problem number 2. I don't know which one you want it, but I'll do it. It says you recently paid $1,200 in annual property taxes based on a tax rate of $1.678 per 100. What's your property's assessed value? So Crystal, I happen to know, yes, Anita, if you are in North Carolina, that is how you find excise taxes. So Crystal, I know you use a T-bar, so I'm going to T-bar this. If we're using a T-bar, you know what I tell you to do. The first thing to do is find the rate, and there's a rate of something, and that mirrors the amount of something, whatever this is. And over here is your base. What are we basing this on? What is our starting point? What is the information we need here? Now, usually when we talk about rates, we have a percentage. but we're not going to use a percentage this time. We have a tax rate, and our tax rate is $1.60, 1.678. That's our rate of taxes. And we know whatever we have down here, we're going to write up here. Up here goes amount of taxes. And what are we basing that tax on? We're basing a dollar amount per 100 of the assessed value. So for every 100 this property is worth, you would owe $1.60, let's call it $1.68, just talk easy, $1.68 for that property. So again, if you had a cardboard box worth $1, or I'm sorry, not $1, $100, you would owe $1.68 that year. If your cardboard box was worth $200, you would owe 168 times 2. Bye, Meg Deal. See you in class. Have a great evening. So we need to know how many hundreds in, well, it's per 100. The other problem, the other number this problem gives us is 1,200. 1,200 isn't the now, that's an amount of taxes. It's not the amount that, it's not your per 100 of value. It's not the number of hundreds in the assessed value. That's our amount of taxes. So now I can have 1,200 up here. I can have 1.678 at the bottom. And that means this T-bar is telling me to divide. So I'm going to do 1,200 divided by 1.678. Right? And when you do that, and I'm going to do this the other way algebraically in a second for everybody else. I'm going to take 1,200. I'm going to divide it by 1.678. And that tells me there are 715.137. That is the number of 100s in the tax value. So what I can do is take 715,137, and I can multiply it by 100, and that gives me an answer of this property is worth $71,513. Right. Now, for people who don't use a T-bar, let me show you what you would have done. Let me change colors here so you can tell the difference. Why not? We know that there's a formula. Our formula is if you take the assessed value and you divide it by 100, and you multiply that by the tax rate, you'll get an amount of taxes. That is your formula. And now what you want to do is fill in what you need. Well, we knew from the problem, our tax rate is $678. That was your tax rate. You're paying $1.67.678 for every 100 of value. Now, the other number they gave us was this 1,200. That's this. So what we're looking for is this number right here. This, now it's a parenthesis, so we want to get all of this. Whatever this is, I'm going to call this star. Or, I'll call it X. No, because we got a time sign. We'll call it star. This number, which would be the assessed value divided by 100, is equal to, if we multiply it by $1.67 or $1.68, you would get $1,200. So we're solving for this unknown. This number times $1.678 is equal to 1,200. All right. Well, once again, we're going to divide the same way we did with the T-bar. I'm going to take 1,200 and divide it by 0.1678, and that's going to give me that missing number. The number that I'm putting in here is what I get, and that was the 715.137. Right? So we know the assessed value divided by 100 equals 715.137. Well, if this is our unknown, is our question mark, we got to move this, and the opposite of that is times 100. So, oopsie pie. Dude, come on, give me back the color. There we go. We're going to take 715.137 times 100, because to get rid of this, we would have said times 100. So that means our assessed value is equal to $71,513.71. Boom. Whew, that was a lot. But Crystal, more importantly, does each of those steps make sense? And Crystal, everybody can hear your voice, but they can't see you. Don't come on camera. You're welcome to talk to me, or you can put it in the chat. But I did that problem for you. I just want to make sure we're good.
Yes.
Yes. Yay. Do I need to do the one underneath, or you think you can figure it out now? Actually, I want you to try the one underneath and then let me know how it goes tomorrow. And let's move on to the next one that you gave me. Due to the fact the property is 10% less than the standard government survey system, the tax assessed value should be adjusted since they do not have the same acreage. The current mill rate is 6.25 and the tax assessed value is $205,000. What would be their annual tax bill? Okay, so let me write all this out. They said this property is 10% less, and let's just say smaller, than other properties, right? And so the taxed value should be adjusted. So that means it's 10% less, and we need to lower our tax value, or our assessed value, by 10%, right? And the current mill rate, so our tax rate, is equal to 6.25 mils. All right, and our tax value right now is 205. I wish y'all could see me over here. She emailed it, it's on its side, so I keep turning my head, getting dizzy. All right, and I can say what we're looking for is the new tax bill. What's the tax bill? Hey, stop that. We want to know what's the tax bill. So what would I do? I'm going to go through with what the problem said. It said that we need to make the tax value 10% less. So if our current value is 205, we would subtract out 10%, and that would give us our new tax value, our new assessed value. Now, I know that looks like a 5, that's a 10. I could just do the 205, subtract out the 10%, and, then come up with a new value. But what I probably would do is just say 205 times 90%. Because we don't want to get taxed on 100% of the value. We want to be taxed on 10% less than what it currently is. We want to be taxed on 90% of the value. So whichever way you do the math, you're going to get 205 times 90%, and that's going to be 184,500. That is your new tax or assessed value. Well, great. Now we know what we're going to pay taxes on. So what do we do with this? Well, we know that our tax rate is 6.25. Make sure I did that. Yep. 6.25 mils. We know anytime you see a mil, there's 4 letters in mil, and you're going to say, well, there's 4 numbers in 1,000. A mil is equal to 1/10 of 0.01. So if you put in the calculator 0.01, divided by 10, you would get 0.001. Tenths place, hundredths place, thousandths place. All right, so there you go. There's 10 mils in a penny. Or we just do what I said over here. If you can remember 1,000, remember to divide something by 1,000. So what am I going to do? I'm going to take that 184,500 and divide it by 1,000. And that's going to give me 184.5. Now that I have that 184.5, I'm just going to multiply it by 6.25. That's our mill rate. And that's going to give me, let's see, times 6.25, a tax bill of $1,153.13. It's 1.25, and I'll probably just make that 13. Or on the test, it's probably just going to just do 1,153. Probably just take off the change. Well, that's the final answer. We are no longer the weakest link. Yay! So, Ms. Crystal, did that help? Oh, can I also go over numbers 5, 12, 14, 16 in the book in chapter 4? Yeah, I can do that. Wait, and you all are free. I'm just going to do this for Crystal because I know in class we don't have a lot of time. I mean, I just wish we had more time. So Crystal, if you're okay with it, I'm going to continue on. If you're on Zoom or if you are on YouTube, you're welcome to hang out with us. But Crystal, do you want me to continue to go?
Yes, please.
All right, give me 2 seconds. I didn't get any water, and now I've been talking for an hour and 15 minutes, and I'm thirsty. So everybody give me 5 seconds to get some water, because I'm a loser. All right, hold on. I'm coming back. Oh, wait. Maybe there's water still in here. Nope, that's empty. All right, I'm back with hydration. Yay! Anita, you want to know how to join the Zoom meeting? You'll have to email me, not right now because I'm doing this, but email me at CandiceEllis@gmail. Oh, I had to walk up all the stairs. Why did y'all let me get a place with so many levels? Email me at CandiceEllis@gmail.com and just ask for the live Zoom link. And I'll send it to you. All right, let me grab the book. Now, you all might be saying, what book? I do teach for multiple schools, and each of y'all has a different book. So this just happens to be her school's book, but that's okay. You said chapter 4. And you said numbers 5, 12, and 14 and 30. So let me do number 5. Oh, they're not math. Oh, bother. But I'll read them out and we can talk about them. They are not math, but I will read them out for everybody. So the question reads, restrictive or protective covenants are terminated in all of the following ways except which one? Restrictive or protective covenants are terminated in all of the following ways except. So I would encourage anybody doing this before you even read the answers, when it's one of these accepts, you know there are some things that terminate protective or restrictive covenants. We know those are the same things. I think it's helpful to try to figure out in your head first, like, what do I know about restrictive covenants? And then try to find the answer that matches. So off the top of my head, I know that sometimes restrictive covenants just expire. Most states have laws that say restrictive covenants aren't forever. Eventually, they will expire, right? We know that usually if a neighborhood has restrictive covenants and nobody enforces them over a long period of time, like let's say 10 years ago, there was a rule that you couldn't have more than 2 cars parked in front of your house. And over time, just nobody cares anymore. Well, then they're going to lose their ability to enforce that. You can't decide 8 years later, oh, okay, now we're going to enforce this 2 cars rule. No, you stopped enforcing it, then legally, and you want to call an attorney, you're going to lose that power. And then on that same level, if they just like everybody kind of agrees, okay, we're not going to do it. We're going to not do it. We're not going to follow through. Or if they vote, if there's unanimous vote and they say, yeah, we don't want to do this anymore. I know those are the major ways to get rid of restrictive covenants. So now that I know that, I can look at my answer choices to see which of those things should be in the answer, because except it says which of these, all of these ways would terminate except. So 3 of these should be ways to terminate and 1 would not be a way to terminate. So our answer choices are A, expiration, B, transfer of title, C, failure to enforce on a timely basis, or D, abandonment. Well, lucky for us, we said A, expiration. Lucky for us, failure to enforce on a timely basis, I said that too. And abandonment, yeah, you can't just abandon the rules and then think you can come back 20 years later. So that will leave us with answer B, title, transfer of title, and that is true. When you buy a house and there's restrictive covenants, the new owner has to honor those covenants. So boom. Oh, good job, Anita. Transfer of title. She had it right. Nice. So that was number 5. You said do number 12. Number 12, building codes require which of the following? All right, building codes require which of the following? And that could be all sorts of things. Like they're required to be legal. I mean, they're required to be non-discriminatory. They require, like, I got to look at my answer choices to see where they're going with this building codes require which of the following.
Which chapter
Answer. You said what, ma'am?
which chapter are you reading?
Oh, am I in the wrong chapter?
I think so. It was for chapter 4.
And surely I am in chapter 5. Let's answer this question, then I will jump over to chapter 4. Oh Lord, how do y'all even listen to me some days? I'm in the wrong chapter. You don't see my screen? Anita, you should be able to see it. Let me stop share, but I'm not, there's no way for me to share the questions that I'm going over right now because they're in a book, but I will stop share and reshare so at least you're looking at something. I mean, I guess y'all could see me, but I look a hot mess. So let's not. Let's not. I was not planning to come on camera. So let me share my screen again. There you go. You should be able to see that now. All right, so this building codes question, the answers are A, a building report, B, PUDs, C, certificate of occupancy, or D, statement of record. And my guess is the answer was C, a certificate of occupancy. I'm assuming that's what they wanted, because a property report, when I think of property report, I think more of, what is that law? The Interstate Land Sales Full Disclosure Act, which requires developers to give a property report to HUD. So anybody thinking about buying that property across state lines would, can look up to make sure it's honest. Like they're good. PUDs just require, I mean, PUD is a planned urban or, urban development, which is they've planned to have more than one type of zoning in the subdivision. And then a statement of record. Where would we say a statement of record? I know that is something, but I cannot think of it off the top of my head because literally I've been teaching for, a long time.
Chapter 4 is on transfer of title to real property.
Yeah, I'm just going to finish this question, then I'll jump over.
Oh, okay.
So then 12, I do believe is going to be certificate of occupancy, because in most states, even though there's building codes and how you have to do everything, before anybody can move in, there's got to be given a certificate of, it's called a CO, a certificate of occupancy, where there's one final inspection that says, hey, you can move in, this property is safe. But apparently I was in the wrong chapter, so now let's go back. Chapter 4, number 5. The tax rate is calculated on every 100 of the what? So we're talking about in North Carolina. We know North Carolina, we pay taxes like we just did this math. Where was it? We just did a math problem on this. Here. So we did this per every 100 of the assessed value. When you pay taxes, you don't pay it off of the appraised value. You don't pay it off of the sales price. Taxes for property taxes that you owe every year, that is based off of the assessed value. All right. So your answers were sales price, appraised value, listing price, or assessed value. Taxes are assessed. Marilla, you asked me if I'm teaching a special class during the week. Yes, on Wednesday night at 7, I'll be back here. Right? And yes, Anita, it is assessed value. Yay. That was 5. Then you said number 12. All right. Ooh, this one does have math. It says a parcel of property.
Question.
Yeah.
I have different questions.
What?
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Am I in the wrong book? Are you in the yellow book?
Yeah.
No, you're in the blue book.
It's yellow. It says the 8th edition.
Huh? You said chapter, oh, that was chapter 3. Did I literally go from chapter 5 to chapter 3 after you asked me to go to chapter 4? I need a sound effect that goes, fail. Jesus Christ, Candace, pull yourself together. This is why boys and girls just, I don't know. We don't know what's wrong with Candace. We just tap her on the head. All right. Does yours say this? Which of the following is the type of notice provided by recording?
Yes.
Okay. We're here now. Okay. What type of notice is provided by recording? And your options are actual notice, reasonable notice, protective notice, or constructive notice. All right. What were you thinking, Crystal? What were you thinking the answer was? Or you just were like, I don't remember learning this.
I was thinking it was protective.
It is not protective. It is constructive. And what I would encourage you to do, because I know you could see my screen, is, yeah, it's okay if you didn't get it off the top of your head, but then just to give yourself a reminder, go to our slides. And then I know you've got the PDF now, just put in the word notice. I can spell notice. Hold on. Notice. Put in that word notice, and it's going to tell you, all the times that notice comes up. So there's constructive notice. Then you've got here, well, that's just a notice. That's notice. You got to give notice and do not fax, whichever. And you would just keep on going. I would probably come back. And then you've got this notice is filled at the Register of Deeds, and it's going to say, you could just go through and look to see if you see anything, like if you see these words. But I could tell you right now, it is constructive notice. You record to give constructive notice. And when I explained it in class, I talked about it being Facebook official. Giving actual notice is when somebody mails you out a wedding invitation. You got actual physical notice. Constructive notice is when you kind of make it Facebook official. You didn't tell everybody, literally, you did an action that is the equivalent of telling the whole world. You made it Facebook official. Does that sound familiar?
Yes.
Cool. Awesome. All right, then you said, now that I'm in the right chapter, number 12, if the covenants in a general warranty deed are broken, the grantee's recovery is which of the following? So you've got a general warranty deed from your seller that's got all of those covenants. What is it? It says the grantee's remedy, which is a fancy way of saying, what can the buyer do? What can that grantee, the new owner, do when, it's gone wrong? The title has gone wrong. Our options are A, sue the grantor for damages in the amount up to the loss up to the amount of the purchase price only. Okay. B, require the grantor to execute a deed of confirmation only. C, both sue the grantor for the damages in the amount of the loss up to the amount of the purchase price and require the grantor to execute a deed of confirmation, or to do D, none of the above. This one's very picky, and I know it's probably something I should know. My first thought was, I like sue the grantor for damages, but that's why you have title insurance. And what I'm not sure of is up to the amount of the purchase price only. I don't know why. I mean, it says there's a covenant and it's broken. So that means some promise was broken, which means you probably lost title. So I would say, yeah, you could sue for damages, but the question becomes, is it only for the price of the purchase? Is it only up to the purchase price? So I would say the answer is either A or D. Let me see what they're telling me the answer is. Into chapter questions, chapter 4, number 12. Okay, so sue the grantor. It's A. Sue the grantor for damages in the amount of the loss up to the amount of the purchase price only. So, I mean, that kind of makes sense. When you buy title insurance, you can only get paid up to what you pay for the purchase price. I was not aware that you could only sue up to the amount of the purchase price only, so I wouldn't get too hung up on the details of that, but I would say you should probably know that, yes, if I give you a general warranty deed and the title is not good, I can sue you for my losses. Does that make sense?
Yes, I initially picked C.
Okay. And the reason it's not C is it's that require the grantor to execute a deed of confirmation. That deed of confirmation is used to confirm like a mistake on a deed. Like you spelled a name wrong, or you got like a street name, like not a street name, that's kind of big, but there's something small there that needs to be fixed. Like it said 123 ABC Street, and it was supposed to be 123 ABC Lane. Because there's also a legal type, there's a legal description on a deed. So that street address, you would just want to make sure it's right. Deed of confirmations are just for like a slight name misspelling. It says Barbara, and it says say Barbara, they spelled it wrong. They said, BRA, Barbara. Like that could be corrected with a deed of confirmation. You're confirming a piece of information on the deed. So that's why that's not the answer. All right. Number 14. A claim of title by adverse possession may be defeated by the property owner by which of the following? A claim of title by adverse possession may be defeated by the property owner. So if somebody's trying to claim, hey, your land is now mine, and they're using adverse possession, what could stop it? What could you do as a property owner and say, yep, nope, actually, that's not a thing. So if we go into adverse possession, we know adverse possession is the concept that if somebody meets the criteria of adverse possession, right, which we know is adverse, let me put in possession. There it is. That's that one. That's that one. That's that. Here. We know adverse possession is when the buyer says, look, I can prove that my use was hostile, intentional, open, continuous, exclusive, adverse, or notorious, or just ocean. Open, continuous, exclusive, adverse, notorious. But either way, if you're looking at the H for hostile or the A for adverse, what that means is you did not have permission. If somebody comes in to make a claim, one way we can shut this down is by saying, actually, I gave you permission, like you were renting, or I let you borrow the land for a time. So since I at one point gave you permission, you cannot make a claim for adverse possession. Or if somebody comes and makes a claim for adverse possession, they can say that, you hid the use from me. I wasn't able to tell. No, the use has to be open and notorious. Or you could say it wasn't long enough. Every state has a minimal amount. You see North Carolina stuff on the screen, but every state has a different amount of time. You have to say, hey, I was using your property for XYZ for X amount of time. Like if it doesn't have enough time. So any of these proving that the buyer doesn't have any of these things or one of these things would invalidate it. Or of course, there's the Torrens system where you treat land like a car and you have to register it with the courts. So our options were a claim of title by adverse possession can be defeated or ended by the property owner by which of the following: permission, confirmation, will, or condemnation. Well, that's going to be A, permission. If you can prove you gave them permission to use it at some point, they can't make a claim for adverse possession, not a successful one. I mean, they can make a claim for whatever they want. Doesn't mean they won't lose. Well, confirmation is a word that has to do with that D to confirmation. It's a great word, but not what we need right now. Wills don't have anything to do with this, and neither does eminent domain, because our last answer choice there was condemnation, and we know condemnation is the act of eminent domain. We feeling okay about that one?
Yes.
All right, let's do 16 and then 30. Which of the following statements regarding a title exam is correct? Which of the following statements regarding a title exam is correct? A, the purpose of the title examination is to reassure the purchaser that the seller had good and marketable title. B, to determine if there are any items, recorded or not, that might negatively impact the seller's title. C, the purpose is to determine the quality of the title. Or D, the title exam only includes items related to title and does not typically include liens or property tax matters. Well, we can eliminate D right now, can we not? Like, we know off the top of our head, yeah, if you do a title search, the whole point to doing it is finding property liens and to see if the property taxes have been paid. So yeah, we're not going with D. That one's wrong. So now we've got the purpose of the title exam is to assure the purchaser the seller had good and marketable title. Or is it B, to determine if there are any items recorded or not that might negatively impact the seller's title? Or C, to purpose is to determine the quality of title. I mean, all those are pretty close. I would say, I would not say it's A, because to reassure the purchaser had good and marketable title, that's going to come more, I would think, from the title insurance. This idea that you are being, you get a title exam, but it's to make sure there are no liens, something like that. So yeah, I wouldn't say A. Because if you want to make sure you have good and marketable title, that comes from title insurance. That comes from a line in the contract. So no. You got B, to determine if there are any items recorded or not that might negatively impact the seller's title. The key to B being wrong is or not, recorded or not. When you go do a title exam, you can't find a title search. You can't find things that are not recorded. I mean, the whole point of recording is so people can find it, but it doesn't mean if it's not recorded, somebody doesn't have a claim. So no, that answer doesn't work. So I would go with the answer of C. The purpose is to determine the quality of title. Are you going to have like lots of problems, like with liens or other people making claims? I'm going with C. Does that make sense? Yes?
Yes.
And then one more, 30. A tract of land measuring, oh, this one's math. Let's go. It's math time, people that are still hanging out here. Doo-doo-doo. Mm. A tract of land measuring 165 feet wide by 350 feet deep. So this is the road. And it is 165 feet wide from here to here. And from here to here, it is 350 feet deep. And it was purchased, it was sold for $138,600. What is the price per front foot? All right. Well, remember, front feet is going to be how much of this property faces the road. Or if there was water here, if this was the ocean, how much land do you have facing the ocean? So really, this is about making sure you know that this is how wide it goes and this is how deep it goes. And if it's telling you it's sold for $138,600, how much are you paying for each of these 165 front feet? So what I'm going to do is take the 138,600 and divide it by 165. And that's going to give me, survey says, turn on calculator, 138,600 divided by 165. And that's going to be $840. $840 per front foot. Oh, I just closed my book. Was that an answer? Let's see. Make sure I go to the right chapter to see if that was an answer choice. Chapter 4, number 30, and 840D. There you go, ma'am. Did that help?
Yes, thank you.
Well, I'm glad. No, I wanted to make sure that we got these up. I mean, not, you know, I ask in class every day, you know, who's got questions from something you've studied. So I do appreciate that you have questions. And I mean, your classmates lost. They weren't here tonight if somebody wasn't here, but that's okay. All right. So now we've been doing this for almost 2 hours. So I'm going to go rest and not talk after teaching all day and doing this. Remember, I will be back, everybody, on today's Sunday, Wednesday at 7 p.m. We no longer are going to do Fridays. We're just going to do Sundays and Wednesdays. So I hope everybody has a wonderful Sunday evening. If you're in North Carolina, please stay safe out of the snow. And I'm so jealous of your snow day. But if you're in my evening class on the weekdays, we still have class tomorrow because your internet works. So I will see everybody soon. Have a good one. Bye, everybody.
Bye.